You know that feeling when you open your bank account and your stomach just drops? That moment when you realize the number staring back at you makes absolutely no sense given how hard you've been working. Yeah, I know that feeling, and I want you to know that. What you're about to hear completely changed everything for me, and it's going to do the same for you. Let's be real for a second. You're not bad with money. You're not irresponsible. You're not lazy. You're just nobody ever sat down with you and showed you a system that actually works in the real world. And that's not your fault. That's the gap that most financial advice completely ignores. They hand you complicated spreadsheets. They throw jargon at you. They act like you should already know this stuff, and when you don't get results, somehow that becomes your problem. But here's the truth. The people who are genuinely winning financially, they're not smarter than you. They're not working harder than you. They just have a different system. And today I'm going to show you exactly what that system looks like. Before I do that though, I need to tell you something important. We have related programs linked down below in this video's description. These go much deeper than what we can cover here. Look, I'm about to give you real, powerful information right now. The programs are for people who are serious about transforming their financial situation at a level most people will never commit to. Most people will watch this video, feel inspired for an hour, and then go right back to doing exactly what they've always done. I'm hoping you're not most people. Check those links below when you're ready to go further. Now let's get into this. Picture this. It's late at night. Everyone else in your house is asleep. And you're sitting alone in the quiet, phone in hand, doing that thing you do when no one's watching. You're checking your accounts again, not because you think something changed, but because somewhere deep down you're hoping that maybe this time the numbers will be different. And they never are. And that quiet desperation that sits in your chest in that moment, that is the most real thing in the world. You've tried budgeting before, let's be honest about that. You've downloaded the apps, you've made the spreadsheets, maybe you even cut up a card once, and it worked for like 2 weeks, maybe 3. And then life happened. An unexpected bill, a birthday, a rough week where you just needed to breathe and not think about money for 5 minutes. And suddenly you're back to square one, feeling worse than before because now you've got failure stacked on top of stress. Here's what nobody tells you. Traditional budgeting fails most people not because of a lack of willpower, but because it's built on a foundation of restriction. And human beings are psychologically wired to rebel against restriction. The harder you try to white-knuckle your way through a budget, the more emotional spending explodes the moment your guard is down. Science has shown this again and again. Restriction without design creates a pressure cooker, and eventually it always blows. So what's the strategy that actually works? It's called zero-based intentional allocation. And before you tune out because that sounds complicated, let me make it so simple you could explain it to a 10-year-old in under 5 minutes. Every single dollar you earn gets assigned a job before it gets to do anything on its own. Not after. Before. You don't look at where your money went at the end of the month. You decide where it's going at the beginning of the month. Every dollar, every single one, down to zero. Hence the name. Here's why this works psychologically. When you give money a purpose before it lands in your account, your brain stops treating it as available. Studies have shown that people who pre-allocate spending make dramatically different, more aligned financial decisions than people who budget reactively. You're essentially removing the decision from the moment of temptation. You're making the decision when your mind is clear, not when you're tired, stressed, or emotionally triggered. Let me walk you through exactly how this works in practice. First, you write down your total income for the month. Everything, every source, every single dollar coming in. Second, you list your fixed costs, rent or mortgage, insurance, any minimum payments you're committed to. These are non-negotiable. They go first. Third, you list your true necessities, groceries, transportation, utilities, the real basics that keep your life running. Fourth, and this is where most people completely miss it, you pay yourself next. Not last, next. Before fun money, before eating out, before anything that's a want rather than a need. You create a line item for your future self and you protect it like it's a bill, because it is. It's the most important bill you'll ever pay. Fifth, you assign every remaining dollar to a specific category. This includes fun. This includes breathing room. This includes the things that make life feel like life. But you decide the amounts intentionally, not emotionally. When the total of all your categories equals your total income, you've hit zero. Every dollar has a job. Every dollar is working for you instead of disappearing on you. Now let's talk about what happens after 60 days of doing this. Because this is where it gets emotional. People who commit to this method consistently report that within 2 months they find anywhere from $200 to $800 per month. That was simply evaporating before, not because they were buying luxury items. Because they had no system, their money was leaking through dozens of tiny holes they couldn't even see. A subscription here, A convenience purchase there. Small amounts that felt meaningless in the moment but added up to thousands of dollars every single year. Think about what an extra $500 a month means over 12 months. That's $6,000. Over 5 years, that's $30,000. And that's just from plugging the leaks. That doesn't even account for what happens when you start directing that money with real strategy. And here's the part that hits the hardest. The transformation isn't just financial. The anxiety starts to lift. That background hum of money stress that you've been carrying for so long you almost forgot it was there, it begins to quiet. You stop waking up at 3 a.m. doing math in your head. You stop that habit of checking your account and hoping the number is somehow different. Because now you know exactly where everything stands. And that peace, that clarity, that feeling of control, it changes how you show up everywhere in your life, in your relationships, in your work, in the way you carry yourself. People who've used this method talk about it like they woke up. Like someone finally turned the lights on in a room they'd been stumbling through in the dark for years. Here's the pattern interrupt though. The strategy alone isn't the hardest part. The hardest part is sticking with it through the emotional moments. Because money is never just about money. It's about fear. It's about identity. It's about the story you've been told about yourself and what you deserve. And until you address those layers, the system is just a tool sitting in a box you never open. The people who create real, lasting change, they don't just learn the mechanics. They rewire the beliefs underneath. They understand why they spend the way they spend. They build new patterns intentionally, rather than reacting to old ones. And that is where the depth of transformation lives. Most people reading about budgeting online will never get there. They'll get the surface level information, feel a spark, and let it fade. And a year from now, they'll be in the exact same place they are today, maybe a little deeper in the hole, wondering why nothing ever changes. But some people will decide that this is their moment, that they've spent enough time on the outside of the life they know they're capable of building, that they're done treating their finances like something that just happens to them instead of something they design. If that's you, the programs linked in this video's description exist for exactly that reason. They're built for people who are done playing small with their money and are ready to move with real intention, real strategy, and real results. Not someday, right now, today. Because the cost of waiting isn't zero. Every single month you delay costs you in stress, in lost money, in time you will never get back. The link is right there below this video. If you're ready, you already know it. Go.